Well, welcome to our Facebook Live event. I'm Paul Armstrong from eNthusaProve. And before we start, I just want to share that Diana, our president, Amanda, our CEO, and myself, our hearts and our prayers are with especially those in the healthcare industry that are on the front line of this. We're definitely in union with the whole world at this point in being serious about facing this pandemic with the talents that God has given us, and that we are looking to really move strongly through that. And so that is first and foremost on our minds. And there's a lot of stuff going around right now that is a whole new world. A whole new world. Yesterday before the businesses closed, I picked one thing up and it was a curbside thing, and I made a comment to the guy in the car next to me, and he says, "This is a total reset." And I thought that was a great phrase, because it's a reset, which means that, we're going to go through. We're going to move on. And there's a lot of stuff out there that is frightening, absolutely frightening. And we have good reason to be concerned that fear is a real thing, and it is a gift from God, because fear allows us as people to be able to react quickly. And so the fear is legitimate, and it does have its purpose. But we as leaders know that we have an immediate concern. And so the fear, which allows us to do three things pretty well: fight, flight, or freeze. And so it's allowing us to do the flight and freeze pretty well. Get back, get to your homes, keep the distance. And so it's doing its job. And so what we're seeing as a national response is well placed and well programmed into our human psyche. But we as leaders, not only do we need to have this immediate, we need to have this long term. That there is the tactical and there is the strategic. And so what I think we'd like to share here today is just some thoughts that when we have looked at the concept of enabling joy over the years, we have found it to be really powerful for project teams. And project team leaders, they're always facing a level of uncertainty. To the level of what we're dealing with right now, no way. This is a whole new game. It's a total reset, as the guy said. And so, but we still think that there are some valuable lessons that we'd just like to share with you here today. And feel free to send your comments in, and we'll see if we can address them, about what does it mean to enable joy through this challenging time. So first, let me again reiterate one of my favorite definitions of joy. It comes from Mother Teresa. That joy is strength. And as you may be aware in our writings and our blogs, we talk about joy being an ingredient. So if there is a time that we need to be strong as people, as families, as a country, as organizations, it's now. This is the real test. This is the real test. So the cool thing about what Mother Teresa said is joy is strength. It allows us to see it's the strength to go in. But when we enable joy, it's a perfect metaphor, because just like strength helps us to lift weights, the more we lift weights, the stronger we are. So joy is a necessary ingredient. But the more we enable joy, the more strength we have coming out. So the more joy we have coming out. And so that is what we think we want to tap, that great secret about enabling joy, because we need to be strong. The other thing that we talked about was that joy actually adds meaning, because it gives us meaningfulness. And we're going to touch on that later, because we're in a new realm where a lot of us now are separated from the work that was really a big part of our social life and our meaning. So we're going to touch on that also. But before we go there, just as sort of a reminder, we had a certain picture that we've used to define joy. And I want you to just stop for a minute and say, if you had to draw a picture of joy in doing something, what would that picture look like? I know that when I do searches for that on the web, for images, I get a lot of celebration kind of stuff, and that makes sense. Remember, I said joy is an ingredient. And so those pictures of joy are sort of happiness, joyful happiness. They're more looking like an output than an input. And so my picture that I've resonated with for years is this picture right here. It's actually a picture of a mother changing the diaper on a little one. Maybe it's a caretaker. We'll go with that because we're in a whole new realm here. And what that always reminds me is the definition of joy, and that joy is not necessarily associated with fun, okay? It's associated with something much deeper. It's not always associated with smiley happiness that may be associated with short-term happiness that is more related to pleasure. That joy is this ingredient. And so we, right off the bat, when we look at that joy is strength, we say, okay, how do I tap that strength? And we have three ways that you can tap it. And let's take a look at those three ingredients of joy, those three components of joy, and let's see what do they say to us for this current situation. So the first component is to be able to connect. And as you might remember, that has to do with two types of connection. Connection with our fellow people and connection with a purpose. And how critical is that right now? That we as leaders have to really reinforce that connection. Okay, connection it's the vital baseline to enabling joy. No connection, we're out of the loop. And remember that it makes a lot of sense because, you know, we can say drive out fear and stop being afraid. That tells us what not to do. Right now we're focusing on what we can do. First thing is, how are we going to, as leaders, increase that connection? Remember, our biggest fear is being alone or is loneliness. Now we have people working remotely, and I'm seeing a lot of help out there for folks saying, okay, now that you're by yourself. Remember, a lot of folks define their social circle by where they were in their workplace. That was a big part of their social circle. Now they're on their own. So we got to think about how are we going to not let that be a barrier to connecting. And granted, we're very blessed. We have all this great technology like I'm using right now, okay? And just as a caveat, I have never done a Facebook Live before, so if some of you are experiencing issues, please send them in the chat line or whatever. We have some folks monitoring the chat line for me so I can focus my attention on you. And so when we look at Connect, we really realize that we're going to need to make sure that as leaders, we're not just sending out emails and policies. They're all critical and they're necessary for good, solid alignment on what we need to do in this. And we just got one from one of our prime contractors about, you know, sending in a list every day if there are any positive cases. That's all necessary stuff. But we're leaders and people are saying, what are you thinking? So I heavily encourage you, probably want to be doing more FaceTime chatting or your favorite video conferencing or whatever your company uses so they can see you. They want to connect with the expression on your face. Patrick Lencioni, great consultant, author of the book 5 Dysfunctions of the Team and some other great books. Actually, pretty much every one I've read. I've referenced his stuff in my books. He said, hey, the first rule right now is be human. Okay, be human. This is a human condition right now. So you want to, as a leader, really make sure that people, your folks, are not seeing you as the other end of an email or the other end of a policy document. They want to see you. So as uncomfortable as you may be getting in front of a camera, you probably want to do it. Be human. Be human. The other part about that, about the connecting, is people are scurrying around. They want to know minute by minute. So you're going to have to be pretty persistent in that. And again, that's a great hint from Lencioni, being consistent about that. And your message should be very clear about what to do, but also what to hope for, okay? Our job as leaders, and Roger North, if you look him up, North Group Associates has a wonderful blog and he talks about instilling hope. And so our first connection in this is find every way possible. Be creative about how you're going to maintain connection while we also keep the social distancing. And this is like a whole different game because this is not anything we've ever, put side by side before. Stay connected, stay socially distant. And so you as leaders, we have to really strike creative. And any other ideas that for those of you who are online that you want to share, please put them up about what you have found to be successful in getting across the airways here, across the bandwidth, what I would call being more human. And I know that with the great technology, people aren't worried about the video quality. Okay, they want to see your face. What else do we need to connect to? We need to connect to what we are holding dear, okay, in terms of our values. I shared on a blog earlier, a video blog, a great story from Southwest Airlines, and I'll repeat it here. So Southwest Airlines, I'm not positive it's their value, but one of their core tenets is to give people the freedom to fly. And the way they translate that is the biggest barrier, 9 out of 10, is cost. So they said, let's be the low-cost airline. When 9/11 hit, they said, hey, our freedom to fly has been taken away. So they were able to take that core value of theirs and say, that's our value. What do we need to do to give people the freedom to fly again? And in a lot of airports that Southwest was in, they were the first planes off the ground because they said, our job is to give people the freedom to fly. So when you have your corporate values, or even the personal ones, this is the time to pull it up and say, what does this mean in this time right now? And what we're finding for a lot of people is those things that they were always saying they had as values, I think they're starting to revisit them anew. That being there for my family, okay, what does that mean now? Might mean like, maybe I need to spend a little more time on the phone with somebody who's feeling a little more scared or feeling a little more lonely. You know, I watched my wife today making the list, and I saw somebody's name on there. I said, really? They said, yeah, I touched base with them, and they're a big social person, and this is actually affecting, not, I wouldn't say their well-beingness. She says, I'm going to reach out to her, just so she has someone to talk to. And so look around your circle. If you have elderly parents or aunts or uncles that have been, in a lockdown in their retirement community, you probably want to reach out to them. And you might be thinking, hey, they're fine anyway. But now I want you to look across your organization. You know the people who work for you, who have, I would say, a high need for social interaction. You might be wanting to look at, okay, are they reaching out and calling other people? Or do I need to make sure they're calling other people? And just for the human contact of it. So connecting there. Again with values though, when we think with values, I think it would be very valuable if you jotted down your values, the ones that are core to the company or to you, and say, what do these mean now? And maybe you should be getting online and saying, hey, this was our core value. Safety was our core value. And this is what it means right now. Yep, the business is going to get interrupted, but this is why safety means right now. Integrity was our core value. Okay, I know you think you could probably sneak out to this place and go to that place and you're healthy. No. Our integrity is, we have decided we're agreeing with all this. That is our national purpose. You agree with it also. And so you really probably need to go down, and I think folks will appreciate how valuable getting reconnected to our core value set will serve. So that's connect. We're connected to the people and connecting to our values. And you as a leader, you got to really get there. Okay? Are there any comments coming up online that people raising any questions or anything? No? Alrighty. What's our next part? Next part to enabling joy, the next component is, now that we're connected to people and values and purpose, we need to create value for it. We have a fundamental human passion for creating. We're a creative being, okay? And usually this is pretty clear in a business context. We say, okay, this is the purpose of the business. Here's how you are creating value to that purpose. But now we're in a whole new world. And this is a delicate realm because we have this fundamental need to create value, okay? And it helps us to start to feel our personal purpose. As we know, one of the other big fears we have as people is to feel purposeless, okay? To feel like we have no relevance. And so we as leaders, now we have to be a little creative. Like, okay, we've sent the people home. We said, oh, maybe it's a good time to do training and development. That's awesome. So you probably want to be reinforcing, like, this isn't just biding our time. That you are now laying the groundwork. That when we come out of this, we're going to be more capable. We're going to be, more ready to be able to do things. Because, God willing, when we come out of this, it'll be a flurry of activity to get back up and running after this reset. And so while you may think this was helping us stay, kind of productive, you want to make sure that people get that message reinforced, that this is our way of being able to create more value later. You also want to probably take a look at it from a humanitarian aspect. Again, being human. So is there something that your organization or your company has where we can create value toward getting through this? That I know here, I'm broadcasting here from Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Truth be told, as of yesterday, thought I'd be doing this from the candy factory. And as we all know, Pennsylvania shut down their businesses, so I'm actually here at my home. And what we have in Lancaster, and I am sure it exists in lots of counties, is people are standing up Facebook sites and websites where you can say, hey, here's people in need, given the situation, where are the talents to go there? So maybe as leaders, if you're saying, okay, still want to help, take a look at those. And maybe you can reach out and say, hey, hey Fred, hey Wilma, I see you as being pretty strong here, and I know you live in this area. Take a look at this, see if this is something you want to do. So look beyond where they will just create future value for your organization. Look at maybe this is the time that we need to create value for the situation itself, humanitarian value. Again, being human, okay? Being human. Both of those. So now we're looking at new ways to connect through this new policy, social distancing and connecting to people, connecting to purpose, connecting to values, reinforcing all that, and then creating value so that people now know I have a purpose. I'm not just biding my time. I'm not just wiggling my fingers here. I am still creating value either for the future or the organization. Maybe it's professional development. Maybe it's doing the stuff that we were never able to do before. Maybe it's sort of doing that house cleaning that we never got around to, cleaning up our files or our policies or whatever. Or maybe it's actually, as an organization, looking out and doing humanitarian stuff, saying, okay, we're such and such an organization. We're going to give Meals on Wheels a call. We're going to give this organization a call. We're going to go and say, hey, they're setting up this facility over there. Hey, we do this kind of stuff. Maybe we could help them. Again, respecting all the distancing and the other criteria, but start to look there. So what do we got for the third leg of enabling joy? The third leg is contribute. I love that word. It tells me so much. The word tribute is right in it, but con is in there, doing it together. It's where you and me are now connected again. So it circles back to the connection, but now there's created value that you have provided me. It also reminds us something very important in the word contribute. It's associated with giving, not with taking. It's associated with giving. And all the studies for meaningfulness really show that meaningfulness comes from what we give, not what we take. It's about what we're ready to share, not what we're ready to consume. And so contribute really adds, I would say, the vital last ingredient to enabling joy. And it's the completing part of where our sense of purpose and relevance comes from. That not only did we create value, that value is now contributed to someone else, to helping them. Now, this is a tough one, because now you're probably talking long term, that if you've got folks off doing training and development, you're thinking, well, where's that going? So again, it's back to that powerful need for communication to remind the folks, okay, you did this today, the contribution might not occur until way down the road. And that is very common the case. And when we've done, studies with like performance and project improvement type teams, and they come up with something to do today and they don't see it implemented down the road, that there's always this intermittent frustration. And that's where the leader has to keep coming and maybe doing things in little bits so that they get that, I would call it almost more immediate feedback that, yep, what I'm doing created value, and that created value is being contributed. I think a really neat lesson on both to understand the create value and the contribute part can be learned from that famous story about Shackleton, the amazing explorer who went to Antarctica. Ship got stuck in the ice, and they realized they're there for a year. And what he did was he basically said, okay, we're here for a year. Let's build it. They built themselves basically a place to live. They had to out of necessity. But he turned it into, this is the value we are now creating. And all of us have a role. From the guy who's fetching water every day to the guy who's doing this. All of us have a role. That's how you are contributing. And for those of you familiar with the story, it's amazing because he pulls his group through this long time of cold and dark because he enabled joy. They saw what they were connected to. He gave them all a way to create value, and it was very clear how that value was being contributed to the group overall and to their ultimate survival and to their ultimate mission. And that's the tough challenge. I mean, granted, I just quoted a world famous, leader. That's why we watch movies about him. The thing I said to begin with, that it's about being human. Okay, so remember, these are fundamental human needs: to feel connected, to be able to have the ability to create value, and to be able to serve that value to others. So we're being very human on enabling this joy. Being persistent, which means maybe you need to keep reminding people, okay, this is why you did this today. This is where it's going to pay off later. And being creative. It's a reset. This is not business as usual, okay? But here's the cool part. You didn't get to your leader spot by accident. You got there, my guess is, for really good reasons. And now you have the situation to use those good reasons in a way that you probably never imagined before. Connect them, help them create value, help them contribute that value. That's a good long-term solution. The fear, that does its job. It helps us to fight it, to make sure we're safe, free, stop doing what we're doing, be safe at home. That has its short-term necessity. That's the tactical answer. Enabling joy, that's the opposite of fear, okay? So that's the long-term answer. And when you look at it, it's a pretty cool idea because it's going to use our whole human brain. The fear part, we've got a part of our brain that does that pretty well, down in the amygdala. So that's giving us that response. You as leaders now are going to also activate, by enabling joy, the longer term, the place where our visions, our hopes, our ability to plan long term, our strategic thinking, you're going to keep that wired during this. So what other thoughts do we have coming up online? Do we have anything coming up? Any questions that people are asking? No? Yeah, we have our mystery president standing behind the camera watching the computer here for us. Really wanted to just share this. We're all searching for answers. I think this is a powerful answer, enabling joy, because we need to be strong. And the more I researched, the more I found Mother Teresa to be spot on. And joy is strength. So really, if there's no other questions, if there's no comments to address, just wanted to share this with you. Please, if I spurred another thought, if I spurred a question, send us an email, send us a message on Facebook. However, we want to be here to help you in any way we can, you as leaders, as team members, to do what's best for each other. Alrighty? So in the meantime, keep washing the hands, keep that distance, follow what the folks are telling us to do. Don't think that we can be the hero role. We need to be the servant role. Okay? How do we serve ourselves, our talents best? Okay? So